Michael Tierney and Kathy Smith, step by step.
Okay, and actually my colleague Lauren Gonzalez is here with us
Sorry.
today. Oh, no, that's because Kathy would be here, but unfortunately another one of our staff members was in a car accident, and she was taking her out to get checked out. So I've got some handouts. And some of you over the years, we've been working with Lincoln County Schools since 1991 at this point. Step by Step will actually be 25 years old in 2013. It started as a writing group of children in foster care in a leadership program that was particularly focused on kids in foster care and kids with disabilities. And about 5 years into our work, we noticed that we really wanted to work much more holistically and work with communities that would develop the supports so kids with disabilities could overcome those challenges and to help families stay together so their kids didn't end up in foster care. And that, in 1993, we developed the West Virginia Dreamers program, and the idea of that is that we work with stakeholders in the community to support and follow the children literally from birth through graduation from high school. Our core, and that's where we've worked most extensively with Lincoln County Schools, is usually a K-8 after-school program, youth leadership programs, engaging teenagers as mentors for those younger kids. When there's jobs training money out there, we go after it, and we work on summer jobs programs and have done some creative things with that. We brought the first MyHow program, maternal infant health outreach worker program, that our late and dearly missed colleague Anita Tompkins ran for a number of years. Her daughter, Brittany's actually running it now through a collaboration with Able Families. But the idea is that we can't let kids fall through the cracks because the funding for one program is early childhood. Nobody really wants to fund middle school initiatives, and we don't want to wait till they're on the risk of, the places where you can get some decent funding. If the kid's on the verge of dropping out, there is Workforce Investment Act that tries to keep them in school or tries to get them back in school. And there's some really wonderful groups to collaborate with in early childbirth to 3, Head Start, etc. But we want to make sure that the kids have a support system, and the people in their community are thinking through how they can transition from one program to another. So we've always collaborated with the Head Starts, with the preschools. If anybody, we have workshops that are 21st century after-school programs for parents of younger kids. We have community baby showers, and what we're now this year going to call a family swap, because just because your kids are out of the car seat era doesn't mean they're not still things that your kids need that may be a little expensive and pricey. So we're looking at those kinds of donations, and also for people to pass on bicycle helmets and pass on other things as kids grow up. The handouts that I've provided for you, the first is an outline of the way we do after school. We started this, our first after-school program was at the Big Ugly Community Center a couple of years after the school closed in '93. We worked hard with community members to pull together to fix up that building. The first year, it was okay, people went in to vote. The second year, people really assumed nothing would ever happen with it. It was pretty badly vandalized. And wonderful Bertie noticed, why are there high utility bills for a school that closed 2 years ago? And it was because every window had been broken in the school. And so we went in, Bertie kind of tipped us off this was happening. We went in and pulled 23 people together. The windows were broken, so we didn't have to get keys from you all. We just reached in through the thing and opened the door. A baby fox ran out that was living in the school, and people literally hauled water and put bleach in it from the creek the first couple of days. Then somebody brought in a generator. By the end of the month, we worked out a collaboration with the school system to rent the building for $1 for the first year, and you all helped with electricity that first year. You deeded it to us at the end of that first year, and we've been going ever since then. We've had a continuously running after-school summer program there since January of 1996. In 1998, we collaborated with Lincoln County Schools and wrote the grant for the first 21st century program we had, which was the direct federally funded program that ran in all of the Harts area schools and Big Ugly. And even before that, we brought in to the Harts area the first Learn and Serve grants, the very first service learning grants the state had that came through the Department of Ed, and the very first arts and education pilots from the Division of Culture and History. And Ranger was included in those days, and one of my favorite projects was the late and dearly, dearly Miss Peggy Atkins organized, I don't know how many of you got to see The Lion King at Ranger, but they organized the whole school to put on the Lion King, and every grade of kids was an animal group. So you had all the second graders leaping around as lions, and it was marvelous. But our longest and deepest collaboration has been here with the Harts area schools, and we work closely with Debbie and teachers here, and Peggy and Darlene through the years, and have kept programs going fairly continuously since 1998. There was a little dip between when federal funding ran out and before the state funding was really available for our cohort. This first handout just goes through what we do with after school. Some of the things you're asking about, we make sure that kids have an opportunity to, they have tutoring, which we collaborate with the schools with that, homework help every single day. We've been doing both supper and a snack years before other schools were doing it. Before the federal funds were available, we just raised the money because those kids were hungry when they got to us. In our enrichment, we have 5 different 5-week periods. We make sure there's something with the arts. You were asking about science. STEM is a high priority both in our summer programs and our after-school programs. We have been, we brought Project Flow, which is a watershed education program, service learning project here for several years, and we still have all sorts of waiters, and the kids go out and they test water, and they look at water flow, and they learn about what's the best creek environment for a healthy creek to be able to have a variety of animals. The arts program, some folks here, who here remembers the Bridge of Dreams project that we did in 2000. We were the West Virginia site for a national program called Artisan Communities America Creates for the Millennium. For our 25th anniversary next year, we're hoping next summer to have a reunion of folks involved with that and do some little concert, because we're pretty quick studies. We should be able to learn the songs again in an afternoon. And then some of you may have seen, and we'll get copies to you, Patchwork Dreams. We put together a book of oral histories, songs that were written in quilt blocks. We asked the kids to do a quilt block about what was special for them about West Virginia, and there were lots of lovely things of mountains and deer. My favorite was one of Harry Kirk's head as a basketball going through a hoop, because that summed up what was special about arts for him. This is for you to look at later on. Lots of project-based learning. We work very closely with the school system so that what we're doing in after-school parallels the skill development there. And I think the transition to the Common Core stuff is going to be really easy for us, because that's really what we've been doing for some time. And the last page just sort of shows our outline, how we cram all that in, and really it can only be a 2 to 2.5 hour period, because we feed them, we get their homework done, we do some fun enrichment, but we want to make sure that they get home before 7. The next handout, I think Leah went over the school system's 21st Century Grant with you. This last year, every after-school program had to do a continuous improvement process for after-school evaluation, CEPAs. And we're proud to say we were the highest rated after-school program in the state. The specific strengths you can read at your leisure, but level 4 is exemplary, is the highest rating. We were exemplary in all but one of our areas. Level 3 was, and that was a level 3, which is research, evaluation, and knowledge base. And it is tough to, particularly with little kids, break down what's really happening with them, because waiting for West, to what point they start taking West Test, or measuring a West Test once a year is not enough. So we've worked closely. We look at dibbles with the schools. We look at all sorts of smaller bits of evaluation, getting very, very specific skills we want to emphasize in homework help. And to help us with that evaluation, we've raised other money to bring in Jeannie Boudris, who did such a wonderful job of the evaluation with the counseling grants. And Jeannie is working with us on developing a 5-year study to really see what impact after school has on kids. The other thing that we have done over the years, and the other thing that is outlined in our after-school thing, is things working so well and us getting such great support from Lincoln County in developing things, we have replicated this model in several other places. What we're known for with the West Virginia Dreamers program is trying to go into the most low-income or the otherwise challenged community in a county. So Omar was the most economically challenged, and was at that point having the lowest test scores when we started working with him in Logan County. And the Man-Buffalo Creek area, which we just added last year, there are some other areas that have higher free and reduced lunch rate, but many folks here know and have loved David Godby, who sadly is very incapacitated because of his car accident several years ago. But David was the one who said if there was one area that he wanted to see resources developed, it was the Man-Buffalo Creek area, particularly because so few services really came into Buffalo Creek after the disaster in 1972, and he was seeing multiple generations levels of post-traumatic stress, which Buffalo Creek was the community that they did the first studies of post-traumatic stress outside of a military setting. And he just felt that that those communities needed all the help. Like Lincoln County, high rates of drug abuse, lots of parents living with grandparents because of issues that their parents have faced. And then just in the last couple of years, we have always kept an urban partnership because we feel it's very important for our kids to get to know and enjoy and have summer projects with kids from a variety of ethnic and racial backgrounds, but we really focused in on very isolated housing projects in Charleston. The other big backdrop that we've had over the years, besides the Dreamers Initiative, which, one last mention, we were nationally recognized in 2002, that being a national model, the idea that you would get people together and make sure you follow kids from birth through adulthood and work with wonderful collaborators like the Harts Area Schools. We also have been a distribution mechanism for VISTAs, Volunteers in Service to America, which is a program, which Lauren here is one of our current ones. At any given time, we have 20 VISTAs that are placed over a 5-county area. We're doing anti-poverty work. We have a particular focus on dropout prevention work, which we conceive very broadly. We feel, in addition to making sure kids are steadily improving academically, kids have to see themselves as learners. So part of the reason we're so passionate that every child should have a 5 or 6 week summer program, if at all possible, they need the time to just fall in love with learning about something. Usually it's something in science or art, or it may be a particular aspect of reading, but kids need to see themselves as self-motivated learners outside of what happens every day in the classroom. And we find after school and summer programs are a marvelous way to do that. So we've always stressed science and art and reading initiatives. I mentioned a couple of the big theater and music productions. We're also a partnership with Clay Community Centers. We have Elaine Perkey comes out and does vocal lessons with our kids once a week in the after-school program, and we have a 1 to 2 week music camp every summer that has a big, wonderful performance at the end of it. Watershed education, rocketry, we've done the NASA collaborations. This particular year, we are building on a long tradition of getting books in kids' hands. And the idea for the work that Lauren is working on is the studies we've seen that there's all sorts of studies that it's important for kids to be read to when they're very young. As important is simply having books in the home. If kids grow up and are comfortable and are used to having books around in the home, that's even more important. The households that have somebody that took, because a book got sent home from school and the parent sits down to read them, or from Head Start, they don't get as high rates in their future readers as the homes that could say that there's a number of books there. Lauren may give you some of the details, but the statistic that really hit me was in low-income families, what was the statistic?
It was low-income families, let's see, it was
like one book? One for every 300 kids. The lowest economic stratus, there's one book in the home among 300 kids. Most homes don't have any books at all, and with more middle income,
it's 13 per one kid.
It's 13 per one kid. So our goal is to make sure that every kid has a collection of developmentally appropriate books that are just going to knock their socks off because they've also been tied into their interests. I'm going to have Lauren tell you a little bit, and then I'm just going to wrap up with one other initiative that we got going.
So my name is Lauren Gonzalez. I am a teacher, certified early childhood through 6th grade. And I've also taught reading intervention, grades 6th, 7th, and 8th in an inner city setting, so it's a little bit different than here. But I'm, like Michael said, I'm an AmeriCorps Vista down in Big Ugly with Step by Step. And my program is the Family Libraries project. And so we're seeking to establish family libraries here in Lincoln County and promote parents and children reading together. And let's see, we're hoping that will translate into, as studies show, higher reading levels and lower dropout rates. And this will benefit the community as a whole. It offers support for teachers and schools and really builds self-esteem for the kids. So right now we're hoping to pilot a program at Harts Pre-K 8 and really emphasizing or focusing on the Pre-K 3 because it's the most formative years in reading. And we want to give 3 books a month to kids with coordinating coordinating exercises that they can do with their parents, and align it with the CSOs to make sure we emphasize phonemic awareness or stuff like that. And whatever, we want to work with the teachers, see what your kids need help with, see what we can emphasize at home. So please tell us. Y'all are the experts on y'all's kids. So and we want to distribute literature to the parents, let them know why it's important to read, and also hold workshops about literature, and also how to read with your kids. So how to incorporate math and science when you're reading, and also going back to what kind of books we'll be sending home. I think growth and development is a really good umbrella that this is fitting under, because in order to develop reading skills, it really just growing as a child. And again, focusing on the K through 3, pre-K through 3. But I know just in education overall, focusing on the higher level thinking skills is just a huge push right now in going with the Common Core. And so we can just send home questions to ask how to develop the why and the how and all of that Bloom stuff. So we'll try to work together on this.
We did a big book bonanza that's described, and we'll leave some copies of these flyers here for folks not at the head table. We gave away 2,000 books at Big Ugly this summer, brought kids in from 4 different communities. We've just gotten to be known as the place that gets books out to kids' families. So periodically someone will call up and say, I've been collecting books for the last 5 years because I wanted to give them to some kids, and I hear you give them out. So we had a woman come from New York with a friend of hers with 1,000 books. We used to have a woman from Baltimore that would come in once a year with a truckload of books. We had a Girl Scout troop that collected sent a tractor trailer load of furniture, books, quilts that they made, and all sorts of things that they wanted to get out to kids. So again, we're very excited about that. And then for the long haul, there's groups like First Books and Reading is Fundamental. Imagination Library is great for younger kids. That's Dolly Parton's marvelous program. My great niece, when she lived with us, started getting those books where they get a book a month from up through age 5. So we'll also push to make sure that the younger siblings of our families here get signed up for that, because it's easy for kids to fall through the cracks. The last piece I want to mention is another VISTA initiative that we've worked on has been around bullying issues. Next week, this month is Bully Awareness Month nationally. Next week, West Virginia has proclaimed for the last 4 years, because of the work of our VISTAs, the second week of October, Bullying Awareness Week. There'll be vigils in different places. We've worked with some of your counselors through the counseling initiative to pilot different grade-appropriate curriculum programs. And this next year, we're working with folks here in Mason County, and Barbara Ashcraft, who's been very supportive of our counseling program here, is helping to hook us up with a couple more counties to translate those into the same kinds of developmental guidance lessons that the state requires people to have. So they'll have tested with kids, and literally from pre-K, kids doing little handprints saying these hands are not for bullying, and talking about what it means, the difference between telling people what happens is serious and tattling, and just helping kids sort through that kind of thing. A very chilling, and we have a particular effort working on bullying of kids with disabilities. Very chilling series of statistics. 85% of kids with disabilities report having been bullied at some point while they go through schools. If we really dig into the dropout rate of kids with disabilities, frequently I know Mason County, where we're working, has really dug in that 47% of the kids with disabilities drop out in Mason County, and I think we really dig. The rates are much higher than what show up with our official statistics. And 1 in 3 persons with disabilities who do drop out of school end up spending a night in jail by the time they're 25. So the ripple effects of us saying, and I know the school system takes this very seriously, and the new policies are a tremendous opportunity for us to come together as a community. Lincoln, because of the school climate survey that has been introduced with the counseling program, several steps ahead of really assessing what can be done about bullying, and then with the wonderful counselors gotten wonderful teachers, and us developing these lessons as things that fit with CSOs if a social studies or a language arts teacher wants to use it, but definitely that your counselors all have at their fingertips an appropriate developmental guidance lesson for every level will hope will make a huge difference. As you can see, we're a little bit into everything, including the kitchen sink, and the VISTA program helps us do that. But the idea is we're all accompanying these kids as they grow up. And sometimes it's they really need, we realize that science is a gap, so we need to come up with the coolest science projects for the summer to get those kids on fire about them, excited when they come back to school. Reading is always important. Sometimes it's bullying. There have been years that we've really helped with CHIPS sign up, but we as a community are the ones that can really say, these are the strengths, and this is how we're going to hook people up for mentoring. One of my fantasies is that we have a mentor for every kid in foster care. We don't have that many kids in the county that are in foster care. We ought to be able to have some special attention to them as adults. And that, frankly, because of the challenge we have in the Hearts area of kids transitioning to another county's high school for the most part, we have a mentor for every kid in the Hearts area. So we follow them through, whether they go up to Lincoln High, which is even farther of a transition for them than a farther drive, or they go to Chapmanville. I think we can do that as a community, and then we can also take on these risk factors. There's no reason any kid needs to be bullied. There's no reason any kid shouldn't have access to books. And our school partners have been absolutely wonderful. When I describe what Lincoln County Schools do in partnership when I go on national trainings, people drop their mouths at the kind of visionary quality we have in our community. But as we know, just going through everything that's on Debbie's and her teacher's plate, y'all can't do it on your own. And I've been very heartened. We had a wonderful meeting. My deputy director, David, and I had a wonderful meeting with Trish and Jeff last month. I've been very heartened. How do I put this diplomatically? I really believe that the having a Lincoln County superintendent and having you all have more control over what's going on in our schools and the end of the state takeover era is that has happened, I feel a real blossoming of the potential for collaboration that was chilly for a few years there. And I remember it was a long tradition of great collaboration. We never would have had that first 21st century grant with the feds had we not been able to show that. And it's growing again, and it was hard there for a few years, right after the state takeover. And I'm excited about what we can do together. Thanks. Any questions?
Members of the board, any comments, questions?
And I just live over in Big Ugly. I'll be 25 years on Big Ugly this month, so if you ever want me to have any questions, just call and I'll come back over. Thanks.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Gonzalez, we appreciate you all being here. We certainly wholeheartedly agree with the work you're doing. It has to be a cooperative effort, but you're helping us, and it's always amazing to me that those students that don't have books at home. It's just something that we too often take for granted in many of the schools. So we appreciate what you're doing, and if we can be of help, let us know.
Every kid